Dear Esther, the morning after I was washed ashore, salt in my ears, sand in my mouth, and the waves always at my ankles, I felt as though everything had conspired to this one last shipwreck. I remembered nothing but water, stones in my belly and my shoes, threatening to drag me under to where only the most listless of creatures swim.
Donnelly reported the legend of the hermit, a holy man who sought solitude in its most pure form. Allegedly, he rode here from the mainland in a boat without a bottom, so all the creatures of the sea could rise at night to converse with him. How disappointed he must have been with their chatter. Perhaps now, when all that haunts the ocean is the rubbish dumped from the tankers, he'd find more peace. They say he threw his arms wide in a valley on the south side and the cliff opened up to provide him shelter. They say he died of fever 116 years later. The shepherds left gifts for him at the mouth of the cave, but Donnelly records they never claimed to have seen him. I have visited the cave and I have left my gifts, but like them, I appear to be an unworthy subject of his solitude. When you were born, your mother told me, a hush fell over the delivery room. A great red birthmark covered the left side of your face. No one knew what to say, so you cried to fill the vacuum. I always admired you for that you cried to fill whatever vacuum you found. I began to manufacture vacuums just to enable you to deploy your talent. The birthmark faded by the time you were 6 and had gone completely by the time we met, but your fascination with the empty and its cure remained.
A wonderful sight. The moon cresting the junction between the cliff path and the stone circle. It cast a shadow of the ridge across the beach, all the world as if you had signed your name in untidy handwriting.
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh. They were God-fearing people, those shepherds. There was no love in the relationship. Donnelly tells me that they had one Bible that was passed around in strict rotation. It was stolen by a visiting monk in 1776, 2 years before the island was abandoned altogether. In the interim, I wonder, did they assign chapter and verse to the stones and grasses, marking the geography with a superimposed significance that they could actually walk the Bible and inhabit its contradictions? Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
There's the cave. Spooky.
I would leave you presents outside your retreat in this interim space between cliff and beach. I would leave you loaves and fishes, but the fish stocks have been depleted and I've run out of bread. I would row you back to your homeland in a bottomless boat, but I fear we would both be driven mad by the chatter of the sea creatures.
There's those letters again. I don't know what they mean. Is that bread? And fish? No, the poor fishies. Did I take a wrong turn again? I can't seem to interact with anything. I'm not sure if there's any buttons for it. Nope, just move and zoom in. Cool. At least I know. Assume I can't cross water? Oh, I can. Neat. Let's go over and see the shipwreck. I'm cold just thinking about swimming in this. They did a good job with the environment. Just the fact that you can sense the cold. Whoa. What did I do? Did I kill myself?
Come back.
Whoa. An achievement? Drown once. Okay, so that wasn't a good thing to do. Whoops.
The vegetation here has fossilized from the roots up. To think they once grazed animals here, the remnants of occupation being evidence to that. It is all sick to death. The water is too polluted for the fish, the sky is too thin for the birds, and the soil is cut with the bones of hermits and shepherds. I've heard it said that human ashes make great fertilizer, that we could sow a forest from all that is left of your hips and ribcage, with enough left over to thicken the air and repopulate the bay.
I really, really like the music as well. Super good job. It's got that curiosity feeling. It's perfect for like an exploration kind of game. Guess I should keep following the path. I think I made the right move by going down there and visiting the cave first, though. Because the beach would have just led me straight here, and I would have missed that. But I don't know what's down on the beach.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my ordnance survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services, but although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Check over here first. I think they'd want me to go down and check out all that. So maybe they hit something over here. Or at least that would be my logic. It just seems to lead me oh, that piano, though. Kill me. What happened here?
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. How else could new hermits have arrived?
There's a hole in the bottom of the boat. Are they suggesting I go there? Because I will go there. You have to let me. I came from that path. I can't tell if they're like being clever and letting me know where to go. Or if he's just kind of messing with me. But I'll check to be sure for the future. Okay. So we'll check the path over here.
I had kidney stones, and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
That's not how I'd describe kidney stones. Sounds awful.
What charnel house lies at the foot of this abyss? How many dead shepherds could fill this hole? Come back.
I got an achievement for that too. Die from falling off a cliff once. I'm glad this game is rewarding me for suicide. Alright, I guess that should be the goal. I'll find new ways to kill myself.
I've begun to climb, away from the sea and towards the center. It is a straight line to the summit, where the evening begins to coil around the aerial and squeeze the signals into early silence. The bothy squats against the mount to avoid the gaze of the aerial. I too will creep under the island like an animal and approach it from the northern shore.
Why is there a random syringe here? More. Say what it is? Text is too tiny to read. We'll just assume that's horse steroids.
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either.
That's sad. distance. Is that smoke? Or is that fog?
Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs. Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes. Donnelly's book, stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
Shit. That bird scared me. Wait, I should probably... That's gonna lead down to the beach that goes around again. Is there anything else up here first? I don't know the paths by looking at it, so I'll go around. Down there looks like somewhere I should go. The path is getting tiny.
What to make of Donnelly, the laudanum and the syphilis? It is clearly not how he began, but I've been unable to discover if the former was a result of his visiting the island or the force that drove him here. For the syphilis, a drunk driver smashing his insides into a pulp as he stumbled these paths, I can only offer my empathy. We're all victims of our age. My disease is the internal combustion engine and the cheap fermentation of yeast.
Is that a clever way of saying old age? Used to be a boat. Spray something.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones.
What's happening to the
I
music?
struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
What's that? Some kind of map. But why would it let me come over just to see that if I can't even, like, pick it up? Oh shit! New way of killing myself?
Donnelly did not pass through the caves. From here on in, his guidance, unreliable as it is gone from me. I understand now that it is between the two of us, and whatever correspondence can be drawn from the wet rocks.
Oh, look at the little glow shrooms. Neat. One second. Two paths. I kind of want to go up there as well.
They'd stop the traffic back as far as the Sanford Junction and come up the hard shoulder like radio signals from another star. It took 21 minutes for them to arrive. I watched Paul time it to the second on his watch.
It's hard to figure out what any of this means. That's the second time I've seen that octopus creature, and I've seen like those molecule type things or compounds. Pretty much everything. I bet this game would be really cool in VR. Seeing as there is a lot of looking. Oh, that's so cool. Alright. Game makes me feel really cold. I should have a blanket or something. I kind of wish it was a mirror or something to see who the character is. came in? No, it's over there. Okay. Who lit that candle? How is it not burnt out? Someone's had to be here recently. Sense of where we're going. Yeah, I know that feeling, like the claustrophobic of the caves.
I'm traversing my
the
own
level
death
design is
throes.
amazing.
The infection in my leg is an oil rig that dredges black muck up from deep inside my bones. I swallow fistfuls of diazepam and paracetamol to stay conscious. Pain flows through me like an underground sea.
What the hell is that? Is that a paper boat? Kind of spooky. Stuff like that, it almost makes you feel like you're being followed and someone's messing with you. Is there even anything down this way? So where did the paper boat come from? It's such a strange aesthetic like that. Yeah, it seems like depending on what you're walking on, you can lose your footsteps. I think the hardest thing about this game is deciding like what path you should actually follow. It seems like everything kind of branches out or eventually leads to the same place anyways. Doing my best to like try and explore everything. Look at all the boats! Someone's having fun. More drawings. I want to know if I'll ever find out what all that means. Way to go is up here. Yeah, when I get a game like this, I tend to try and explore as much as possible. You know, you're always going to miss something. But But so far, like, I haven't found any, like, real secrets or anything like that yet. So I'm hoping they're going to reward this kind of play eventually. Luminous paint. Looks like a tree. Whoa. Can't go up there.
This cannot be the shaft they threw the goats into. It cannot be the landfill where the parts of your life that would not burn ended up. It cannot be the chimney that delivered you to the skies. It cannot be the place where you rained back down again to fertilize the soil and make small flowers in the rocks.
Nothing important in here. At least I don't think. It seems clear. Question is, how do I get back up? There we go. It's an awful place to throw goats from. Can you read what that says? Like, it's behold something. Damascus. I can't make out what that last word says. Oops. I have no idea what that's supposed to say. Oh, this is crazy. This is like a rave tunnel. And that picture's new. We've seen the octopus 100 times now. Oh, that's totally it. Now I just gotta figure out what Damascus is. That could totally be what it is, because it shows like those weird compounds and stuff like that as well. It would make sense. Kind of like those things there. Away from being a city. Whoever's writing on the walls has terrible handwriting. They get an E for effort and that's it. You know, it kind of lines up with it being neurons and compounds and stuff. Because that would mean he was a doctor. And we all know how they like to chicken scratch on all their prescriptions. Oh no, don't drown. Oh, look at those water reflections. That's awesome. Oh shit. Okay, we're good. Wait, what? This is not where I was expected to end up at the end of that fall. It's neat, I'm swimming though. Oh no, did I just drown? I've just been mind fucked, I think. Oh, that was neat. The character's starting to walk much slower now. Achievement unlocked. Esther. Or Esther. Final chapter, the caves. There's a candle there, so I'm going to avoid that one.
Sanford Junction, headlights in your retinas. Donnelly drove a grey hatchback without a bottom. All the creatures of the tarmac rose to sing to him. All manner of symbols crudely scrawled across the cliff face of my unrest. My life reduced to an electrical diagram. All my gulls have taken flight. They will no longer roost on these outcrops. The lure of the moon over the Sanford Junction is too strong.
This part is super pretty. Look at that moon. Whoops. Did I just drown again? Whoops.
Come back.
The music's been really beautiful throughout this whole game as well. Yeah, I think that's the third time I killed myself. I've jumped in every pit that they've shown so far. There was one on land. I got an achievement for it, though. Is that someone up on the hill?
Dear Esther, I find each step harder and heavier. I drag Donnelly's corpse on my back across these rocks, and all I hear are his whispers of guilt, his reminders, his burnt letters, his neatly folded clothes. He tells me I was not drunk at all.
I feel spooked. Spooky. Maybe it's Esther. It's creepy as hell though. And the music's gone, so I'm getting nervous. Something bad's gonna happen. I wonder is there a way can I go up and talk to him?
There were chemical diagrams on the posters on the walls on the waiting room. It seemed appropriate at the time. Still life abstractions of the processes which had already begun to break down your nerves and your muscles in the next room. I crammed diazepam as I once crammed for chemistry examinations. I am revising my options for a long and happy life.
Right from heaven spoke. Or what is that? Right from heaven. Around. Yeah. Looks like there's a little path here.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
On a sudden, a light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. Eggs. What does it mean? Oh, is that more boats? Oh, that's his armada. Or a representation of it. getting close to Mr. or Mrs. Ghost. Should be them over there.
A sound of torn metal, teeth running over the edge of the rocks, a moon that casts a signal. As I lay pinned beside you, the ticking of the cooling engine, and the calling from a great height, all my mind as a bypass.
Can I push it? No. There's so many strange little paths. The southwest, western. Looks like there's a building or something over there as well. But I don't see any obvious path to it. They're not moving. I figured by the time I got over there, they'd be gone. No, are they not gonna let me up? Very spoopy. I swear, they better let me up there.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle.
No!
When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
Oh, they did it. Rude. And as he was... proceeding on his journey. Shouldn't it be, that's spelled wrong, isn't it? Right? It's not just me, right?
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
Oh wait, so are we just playing a character that's slowly going crazy from syphilis?
Returning to my car afterwards, hands still shaking, and a head split open by the impact. Goodbye to tearful aunts and traumatized uncles. Goodbye to the phenomenal. Goodbye to the tangible. Goodbye Wolverhampton. Goodbye Sanford. Goodbye Cromer. Goodbye Damascus. This cliff path is slippery in the dew. It is hard to climb with such an infection. I must carve out the bad flesh and sling it from the aerial. I must become infused with the very air.
This is getting dark and real fast. Pass. Oops. Pass. That as I made my journey. Alright, look how pretty that is. Kind of don't want to leave. Such an angle it's hard to read. And was... Is there a better angle?
He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all. He had not drunk with Donnelly or spat Jakobsen back at the sea. He had not careered across the lost shores and terminal beaches of this nascent archipelago. He did not intend his bonnet to be crumpled like a spent tissue by the impact. His windscreen was not stars-studded all over like a map of the heavens. His paintwork etched with circuit diagrams, strange fish to call the gulls away. The phosphorescence of the skid marks lighting the M5 all the way from Exeter to Damascus. Twin vapor trails in the air, white lines etched into these rocks. Dear Esther, I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We have always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
Is he jumping? No! Wait, am I a bird? I know, right? But like, just before you hit the ground at first, you could see the shadow of the bird. Why? And yeah, you can see it again. What does this mean? I came into this game with a few questions, but I feel like I'm leaving with even more.
Come back.
Oh, that was a trip. Well, shit. I'm a little confused. I wish there was one part on that last mountain that it was just such an angle I wasn't able to read it. See. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we weren't like supposed to directly know, and it was like a left up to a lot of interpretation and the theories of what it was supposed to mean. It seems to be a common complaint on the internet. I don't know, like the playthrough was totally worth it. The game definitely strikes like a lot of emotions when you're going along. But I just don't know if I played this game like 20 times would I ever even come close to guessing what it was supposed to be all for. That was really fun, though. Nice and short. I wonder if there's anything after the credits. So a lot of people worked on this. If I was to rate this game, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. 6 only because I'm not exactly sure what the purpose behind it in the end was. Like, I felt like I didn't get any closure, and I ended up with more questions than anything, which is not necessarily inherently a bad thing. But, like, the landscapes were super pretty. The music was on point. And it definitely conveyed, like, a lot of feelings. But I don't know why I was meant to feel those things. Yeah, that was really neat. All right, I'll shut it down for now.